Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss Donald Trump's latest scheme to, in effect, get the Supreme Court to agree that most judges should not be allowed to block his executive orders, even if they are illegal or unconstitutional, as many of them are. The consequences would be that although it would still technically be possible for the judiciary to call out illegal presidential orders, in practical terms, not much would actually stop him going ahead with them anyway. This is looking a lot like the 1933 Enabling Act in Germany. But first, for daily news and commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So, there's another case with the US Supreme Court today. It won't report until, summer. It centres on Trump's order to change birthright citizenship. Now, at the moment, anyone born in the USA has the right to have American citizenship. Trump ordered a change to the rule so that those born to non-US citizens, unless they are permanently resident, cannot claim that citizenship. Now, regardless of whether the policy is a good one or not, I've said before, I have no issue with it. It's normal around most of the rest of the world anyway. It's certainly the case that Trump does not have the authority to unilaterally make this change because it is set out in the US Constitution. So the process of changing the rules would require a lot of legislators to approve it, not just the president. And because Trump has tried to apply the law anyway, federal judges blocked the order. This is happening quite a bit. Of course, Trump is absolutely battering the foundations of the rule of law in America by signing lots and lots of illegal executive orders and then refusing to comply with court orders blocking the moves because, and this is a crazy situation, America, apparently the president is above the law, certainly beyond legal consequences for anything they do whilst in office. But there are some things judges can still interfere with, because they're not directly a presidential action, but a decree for others to follow. And the award of citizenship is one such case. So Trump is taking it to the Supreme Court. Now, he's not asking them to rule that he can change the Constitution unilaterally, because even they would rule against that. Instead, Trump's team are attacking the process of holding the president to account. Trump's lawyers are arguing that lower court judges should not be able to block presidential orders just because they're unconstitutional. They are arguing that blocks against presidential orders have reached epidemic proportions since Trump took office. Of course, this is because illegal and unconstitutional executive orders have reached epidemic proportions since Trump took office. It's a little bit like complaining that more doctors are treating measles when measles cases go up, as they are in the dumb states like Texas. But Trump's lawyers argue that this is tying his hands. Of course, that's the idea. The president is not an absolute monarch. They have certain executive powers, but there are other powers which are not theirs, like Congress has certain powers. It's the role of the judiciary to make sure that no branch of government exceeds its authority. That is a fundamental necessity in a democracy. Like a state government cannot suddenly decide to tell a federal agency what to do and then complain that their hands are tied when someone tells them they're not allowed. So this case should really be thrown out with a message to the president that if he wishes to avoid federal judges blocking his orders, perhaps he would like to restrict his orders to those covered by the office of the President of the United States. However, the Supreme Court are not reliable defenders of the Constitution. They haven't been for quite a while, it has to be said, but are especially weak these days. They haven't given Trump completely free rein, but you wouldn't rule out making judgments that weaken the checks against his abuse of power. They effectively did it before he won the election by ruling that a president does not necessarily commit a crime, even if they do commit a crime, if they do it as part of their presidential actions. This was a decision that risks biting America on the arse good and hard. So what would the consequence of a Trump victory be here? Well, it would effectively allow the dodgiest states to ignore the Constitution if Trump gives them permission. So let's say Florida decide that they would like to ignore the Constitution on birthright citizenship in this area, based on Trump's executive order. They could go right ahead and implement the policy because federal judges will not be allowed to block it. States with patriotic legislatures who have respect for the Constitution wouldn't apply it because they would know it was unconstitutional, but the shit states could apply it without consequence. In theory, you could still use the courts. Like if an individual had their right to citizenship blocked unconstitutionally, they could take a case to the court and the court may find in favour of them. But that's what would have to happen. You'd have to take every individual who wanted that citizenship would have to go to court to get it. Lengthy procedure, lots of money. Most people won't be able to do it. And it would be ridiculous. And if everyone could, it would be impossible to arrange the court time. What Trump wants the Supreme Court to do is to agree that these lower court judges cannot just block his orders. If someone feels their rights are being ignored, yeah, they can bring an individual case, but that is unworkable when if an executive order is just unconstitutional, it should be easy just to say, look, you can't do that. This would be a serious blow against democracy if Trump succeeds. The issue of citizenship is, of course, a Trojan horse. It's a classic. Get a precedent set for something most people consider minor. This is what you do. Happens everywhere where fascism rises, absolutely everywhere. You attempt to pick at something where most people will go, oh yeah, I agree with that, right? Or at least are not violently opposed to it. And you pick on that, no great fuss. Then you get the precedent set, then you apply it to more impactful policies. Remember, a functioning democracy has three branches: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The reason the judiciary is there, because they never decide policy. They are the only branch that never decides policy. The reason they exist, unlike the other two, is to make sure that the separation of powers is observed. Trump is attempting to issue orders which are for Congress to decide. It is for the US Supreme Court to make this clear by ruling against him here. They must know that if they agree with Trump, they are removing the ability of the judiciary to make sure the president does not operate outside their constitutionally defined boundaries. The highest constitutional court in the land would be literally helping an obvious rogue actor to dismantle the effective operation of the Constitution and the rule of law. It would very much be like when Hitler got the Reichstag to pass the Enabling Act, which made themselves meaningless. Only in this case, Trump would be doing the same without asking Congress to hand over their powers to him. He'd be getting the Supreme Court to take it from them. This is literally a play to give Trump the Enabling Act almost a century later in America. It's absolutely incredible that many Americans could look at how the Nazis rose to power in Germany, see the same thing, and I mean exactly the same thing, happen in their own country, and not be incredibly alarmed. And I'm not really referring to ordinary citizens here. I get that most will have no idea what happened in Germany 90 years ago, other than some children's book version, right? But educated judges and members of Congress, they've got no excuse. Even the Republicans, if they think this has been done to their benefits, they'll keep quiet. They did not read the history book closely enough. When they are no longer needed, they will be thrown to the fire as well. And this will be the first step to them no longer being needed. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.